Yo, what's up gamers, it's TreesapJake here with yet another video, and today's video is my eagerly anticipated Elemental Shaman PvP guide for 9.2. Now, if you've just stumbled upon this video and you have absolutely no idea who I am or what I do, let me just give you a brief introduction. My name is Jake, and I have made Shaman content since Mr. Pandaria, and I have been playing at a high rating, 2400 plus, in both Arena and in RBGs, and I've got a lot of experience playing Shaman. I've made Shaman content for a very, very long time. So I feel like I have something to say, and I feel like I've helped a lot of people over the last sort of couple of years, at least achieve the rating that they want to achieve. So today I want to talk about Elemental Shamans, and I feel like since Shadowlands, if you've gone through my in-depth guide, they've come a long way, and that they're a really fun class to play, a really fun spec to play. So I'm going to go through what you need to do. So it won't be too long. There should be, things that are covered in other guides that I've done, at least since the 9.0. So take a look at the talents guide. The in-depth guide there is everything you could possibly need, at least for Shadowlands. Not much has changed, but I will talk through quickly some of the talents. So let's get started. So guys, very, very quickly, I just want to talk about the talents here. This is pretty much my go-to build. I don't think this really needs to change. At the minute, all of the synergy works super, super well. Echo of the elements, just a lot of lava burst charges. Echoing shock, you're probably your best output in terms of damage. This can be done with lava burst, I'll talk about that in a second, or with your earth shock, so that hits really hard. The throw up between those here is earth shield and spirit wolf. I prefer earth shield. It just gives you some passive healing whilst you're kiting. Spirit wolf allows you to move pretty fast, but people have a lot of gap closes and a lot of stuns, and most people play with a priest who can just purge Ghost Wolf off you, so I would much rather have Earth Shield. Master of Elements is pretty much you have to, because that just increases the damage of your Stormkeeper, your Earth Shock, Lasso, lots of different things in your toolkit. Nature's Garden, I played this pretty much most of the time. It's a bit hard into Venthyr Priests. You can go for Ancestral Guidance instead, but this one really does save you. Most people kill you in the stun, so that's something to consider. Every 45 seconds getting sort of 20% of your health back is pretty big. So Prime Elementalist, this is massive. You will kind of want to keep your fire really up on this one because it hits like a truck. It does a lot. Its immolate and just general damage is quite high, so I'd keep this. I would never really go for anything else. And then Stormkeeper here, I would definitely play Stormkeeper most of all. I think there's a potential to play Ascendance, but it's such a long cooldown, and Stormkeeper hits like a truck, that you should probably play this instead. So this is what I think, really. These are the talents I'd go for. In terms of the PvP talents, let's talk about these a bit more in depth. Lasso is a must. You must always take Lasso. Always take Lasso. It is just... yeah, it's the one to take, so you must always take that. This is where things change up. With Control of Lava, I usually tend to take Control of Lava. I just think it's a very good way of keeping things controlled, especially if you're playing with a Warlock or other classes like that. I think it's really, really important to play with this. It also just has considerable amount of just general dispel protection for your flame shocks, which is important. It's important for the build, keeping things going, keeping your fire rally up, keeping that cooldown low, and then keeping your damage from lava burst up as well with your tier set. So yeah, we'll talk about that one. Spectral Recovery works quite well with Spirit Wolf. I probably never really take it. You can also take Sky Fury here as well. If you're playing with a mage or something where your dots kind of gets removed quite a bit, which is quite annoying, but it happens. Then play with Sky Fury. I think that's really important. Something like a mage, definitely, like Ellie Mage is probably a big one where you want to play Sky Fury. No point playing Control of Lava, because when they want to dispel stuff, it's always going to be sort of like well, I suppose apart from roots, but yeah, I would often play Sky Fury with a mage, and then potentially Seasoned Winds, but otherwise, I think this tends to be the best kind of setup. Grounding Totem I take most games, because you're mostly queuing into Holy Priest or stuff that can ground. If not, if you're doing like a double melee, either H-Pala or R-Shaman, you can take Static Field Totem, and this is probably what I would take just to kind of basically kite away. There's a few games in upcoming videos that you'll see where I use Static Field Totem as a way to kind of like just bridge off the gap when I need to kite, so... Cool, so we've just talked about the PvP talents and the talents in general, so that's really covered. I want to talk about stats here. Now, there's a few things you need to know. If you want to play Kyrian, if you want to use Vesper Totem, you want to stack crit. You want to be like 30% crit, and that's really it, because of how it works with Elemental Shaman. There is a 250% crit damage. It's much higher than other classes. So when, for example, a crit normally happens, it's 200% of the damage. For Elemental Shaman, it's 250. So it's a lot higher, and that's why Vesper Totem tends to hit like a truck. So if you want to play that, make sure you get 29% crit. Otherwise, you want to go with haste. You want to make sure that you're focusing totally on haste, because haste is your best stat. and for just getting damage out, lava burst, getting those out, getting your Stormkeeper out, just your ticks off your Flame Shock, especially with the control of lava, is really, really important. So that's quite a big thing. You'll get your Fire Rally back, you have more damage uptime. That's kind of how you want to go. So that's pretty much it in terms of the stats wise. Obviously Versa is higher there, but yeah, that's stats. Just want to talk about legendaries now. There's a few options, and I think there's some that you can start off doing and some you can work towards. Now, I think by the time you probably watch this guide, we'll be very close to having your 4 set. And I think once you get your 4 set, the idea of what legendary to use changes. You can still, of course, use the regular build. CPAR uses it, lots of other shamans use it. I think that's totally fine to use. I don't think there's any issue with it. But normally you want to go for Skybreakers. Now, Skybreakers is really good because Flame Shock damage over time, critical strikes reduce the cooldown of your Fire Rally by 1 second. And the Flame Shock has a 50% increased critical strike chance. That means they crit a lot more. Also compared with Control of Lava, where the damage occurs 15% more often, means that there's more ticks. Therefore, more chances for crit means Fire Rally's up a lot more. So that's really good. So go for Skybreakers. I put it on the ring because I didn't want it to sort of like conflict with anything else. I think ring is a good place to put it. And that's that. The other one you want to go for is Unity. Obviously, I haven't got the memory of Unity yet because I'm a little bit far behind. So the clasp is fine, but when you get Unity, you can put it anywhere you like, anywhere that isn't part of the tier set. I'd probably put it on Belt or somewhere else that you can't really get Haste Versa. Maybe, I don't know, like somewhere else that you can't get it. Just have a look through. You can decide whether you can put it on ring, maybe put it on neck, maybe put it on the other big piece that you're not using for your tier set. So whether that's shoulders or chest or whatever, maybe you can put that there instead. I'm going to probably put it on my belt, just put it back there. That's fine for me. And just do it like that. And there you've got Unity. That's just it. That's it for the double legendaries. The other legendaries that you can go for are, there's a few of them that I think, but I think Wind Speakers is probably going to be the biggest one for you. I loved this one in Season 1, and it was really, really fun. When you cast Earth Shock, gain Lava Surge, and increase the damage of your next Lava Burst by 20%. This means that when you throw out your Primordial Wave, when you press Echoing Shock, and you've got your Fire Rally up, your Lava Burst is going to do 40% extra damage, and all of them are going to echo out and do a lot of damage. So you could kind of do widespread damage, and I think this is really, really cool. So I like this one, and I think this is a really interesting one to play. I'll probably make this, and I think this will be really good. It'll just mean that your consistent damage is huge every time you put out Earth Shock. You can get a lot of damage out, and with your tier set, which I will get onto, there's a lot of Lava Surges going on, so your damage is going to be quite high, and I think this will be adding to the kind of play style, kind of like bringing back to BFA, bringing back to Shadowlands what we had in BFA, which was a lot of lava bursts going out, and the damage that came out in pre-patch was amazing. So I really enjoyed that, and this will be kind of bringing back that style. So I'm really looking forward to this. Another play you can go for here, and I've heard Swapsy talk about this one as well, and I think this is a potential here. Casting Lava Burst has a 7% chance to activate Ascendance for 6 seconds. When you activate Ascendance, if we kind of have a look at that talent there, transform into a Flame Ascendant for 15 seconds, replacing Chain Lightning with Lava Beam, removing the cooldown on Lava Burst, and increasing the damage of Lava Burst by an amount equal to your critical strike chance. When you transform into the Flame Ascendant, instantly cast Lava Burst at all enemies affected by your Flame Shock, and refresh your Flame Shock durations by 18 seconds. Something to bear in mind. Now, obviously, this is a 7% chance. It's not much. But when it does happen, for 6 seconds, your Lava Bursts are able to kind of do a lot of damage. And if it's timed well and if it happens well, then you can do a lot of damage. First of all, Lava Burst erupts and it does way more damage. And then you can just spam cast Lava Burst. And that's pretty big. And I think that would be really, really interesting as a kind of like Lava Burst build with your Fire Rally up and everything, and I think that will kind of work very well. So this is a few options. I'm going to try both. I'll definitely get some games out and see what works and kind of let you guys know. But those are my ideas for legendaries. I think those are probably the best ones. I probably wouldn't go for Elemental Equilibrium. You could do, but I think Wind Speakers work so well with the tier set, which we're going to talk about in a second. Just as a reminder, obviously your double Lego increases the haste when you use Primordial Wave, and for each Lava Burst generated by it for 12 seconds, which is massive. So again, when you use Primordial Wave, and if you get a proc chance, your damage is going to be huge, and you're going to be pumping out a lot of damage. So if they stand out in the open with you and go toe-to-toe, they're not going to win, and I think this is quite indicative of that. So it's very, very strong, and I think it all kind of synergizes together. So talking about tier set, I think this is the best thing that you want to go for the tier set. It's incredible. It makes such a big difference. So your 2 set is while your Fire Elemental is active, your Lava Burst deals 20% additional damage, and you gain Lava Surge every 8 seconds. This feels amazing. You can do a lot of Lava Burst, and your damage is quite high. It crits for like 9, 10k, which I think is awesome. So I'm really enjoying that. Just a lot of like meatballs flying out there. It's kind of very similar to Season 1, where the damage was pretty high before they nerfed Lava Burst. So this is kind of like reducing that nerf. They hit quite quite hard, and I think this is very, very key, and you do a lot of damage with Lava Burst, and obviously because you're proccing every 8 seconds, and even if you're sort of using Wind Speakers where you can Earth Shock to get a proc, you've got a lot of procs to play with, and you just hit people with a lot of damage. Or if you proc Ascendants, you're doing extra damage, 20% extra additional damage with Ascendants up, which increases the crit chance of that, and it just hits like a truck. So this is looking really, really interesting. Your Forset also is the reason why you might want to move away from Skybreakers, because essentially it's doing what Skybreakers does. Casting Lava Burst extends the duration of your Fire Elemental by 1.5 seconds. If your Fire Elemental is not active, Lava Burst has a 20% chance to reduce its remaining cooldown by 10 seconds instead. This is pretty big, so it kind of reduces the cooldown of that anyway. What's the point of having two things where it can kind of like do the same thing? You might as well play with something that looks quite cool. So yeah, I'd be interested in trying this and trying it out differently. I know Zeepai's done very well just using regular Skybreakers, so you don't need to stress about it. You don't have to go for this super synergetic sort of style, but I think it's something worthwhile having a look at because it looks quite fun, and I wouldn't mind becoming an Ascendant again for Elemental. The last time I did that was Mop. Really, it was hit like in a truck. It was so much fun, really, really fun to play. So yeah, give that a try. And remember, I don't think it's next week, but it's the week after we can get the Forset. But if you get lucky in the vault, then you should have Forset already, and I think that would be good. I'm probably going to put it on shoulders, but any of the haste versa options, which I think is shoulders, then you should be fine. Obviously, let's talk about Covenants. We talked about Vesper Totem. I'm not a fan of Vesper Totem. I think it's really gimmicky. I think it's like a one-shot, but people have been using it. There's lots of guides out there. So if you want to learn about Vesper Totem, don't come here, because I'm not going to tell you how to do it. I think it's stupid. I think it deserves a nerf. No one should be able to do it, and it's really gimmicky, and I don't like it. Ellie should be basically one-shotting with its toolkit, not with a borrowed power, and that's what I want to see going forward. So apologies, I don't advocate it. I'm very much advocating for a more fun play style, which is spreading flame shot, pressing meatball, etc, etc. So this is my general setup with Necrolord, which I think is better. Defensively, it means that you can handle double melee on top of you, and it just feels a lot better. I pretty much go for Tumbling Waves, a Vital Accretion, Call of Flame, aka Fire Ellie lasts a lot longer, which synergizes with Lava Burst, with your Forset, sorry, and obviously with Skybreakers. Refreshing Water, so I can Healing Surge better on myself. I always go for Embrace of Earth, because Earth Shield increases the healing done to you, or done to the target by 9.5, so it means I can off-heal really well. And then Condensed Animosphere, just to kind of give myself that 5% max heal. It does work a little bit. I don't think it's the best, but there's nothing else that I'd really take in the Endurance one, because there's nothing. I could potentially go for Crippling Hex, which would be a really good way. I do often play Totemic Surge as well. That's another thing you can go for, which is decreasing the cooldown of Tremor. So I could probably put that there and take that instead of Refreshing Water, or alternatively go down the Undulating Maneuvers way, which I know is it can be quite a good one. This doesn't really do too much, the puddle, and put Totemic Surge there. That'd be also another option to take if I didn't want the defensive one. So let's say I'm queuing with a Warlock, I'd probably go down that route because it's probably a lot easier, probably a bit better to do that. And obviously I'd have Tremor up, I'd have Stun, I'd have Slow Totem up, which means that I can sort of Earthbind up, sorry, which means I can kind of like peel a lot better. So that's options there. Those are the options I go for. There's nothing too crazy about it. It's very similar to what I have been playing, but it all kind of synergizes together. Let's talk about comps. It's very difficult to kind of like figure out what the best one is, and that's why it's taken some time for me to make the Elemental Shaman guide for 9.2. I think it's sort of difficult to talk about things because there are multiple different options you can go for. Elemental works with a lot of different comps. I think probably the best ones for you are Ellie Mage. I think Ellie Mage is really still very strong. I think it's going to pump really hard. I think Destro Lock Ellie's really good. I would have said Demo in the beginning, but Demo is dead now, so Destro is the one you want to go for. Destro Lock Ellie is really fun. You just pump out a lot of damage, and obviously Warlocks with their tier set can absolutely one-tap someone, so very scary damage. And once we get Force set as well, things are going to be even scarier for people, so that's an option. I think I've had quite a lot of success with Ellie Windwalker. I got to 1800 recently with Ellie Windwalker, which was a lot of fun. A lot of damage that comes out and you just put a lot of pressure. Weirdly enough, they go the Windwalker quite a bit. So yeah, that's quite a good one. Thunder's still really good. I think Thunder can still be really good with a Fury Warrior. They're like unable to slow them. They can Kyrian Spear. I think Kyrian Warrior would be good. I think you can play Ellie Shadow Priest, Ellie Boomkin. Ellie Boomkin is scary, really scary. I think honestly, the damage you can put out with Moonkin Aura on all the time is ridiculous. So I think those are the options, really. You've got a few different options to go for, and I think that's really kind of what you want to try. And I think just try anything. I mean, it all pretty much works. Ellie has a very versatile comp range, which is why it's so fun to play. It means you can play with anyone. It's difficult in the meta because of how prevalent a lot of the sort of melee are and how strong Fury Warriors are, Unholy DKs, that sort of thing. So people grip you in and everything, but you have quite a good toolkit for getting out. So as long as you've got someone that can peel and you've got a good healer, maybe a Holy Priest, it's the only healer really to play with at the minute, apart from maybe Holy Paladins, you know, those are the options you've got. So try out those different comps. Let me know in the comments below what you think of those comps and what you've tried, and yeah, I'd be interested to see what you're doing. And obviously I'm going to put out a lot of content where I'm playing different comps, so you'll see a lot of Windwalker, Ellie, at least from recent pushes, so that'll be really fun. So let me know. Let's move on. Okay guys, I want to talk about some tips and tricks, and I think this will be helpful for you guys in just kind of understanding what I do that helps my teammates out. So one of the first things I want to talk about is flesh crafting. I don't think there's too much of an issue flesh crafting in the room or outside the room, but there are too few things where I distinguish when I'm going to be doing it. First of all, if I'm going into any rogue team, what I will do is I will not flesh craft in the room. This is what I tend to do. Let's say you're in here. Okay, let's say we're on Borealis. We're at the Borealis arena. Your rogue's in the other room. What you want to do is you want to come out here. You want to get as close to the middle as possible. Fleshcraft. So let's say it's about here, and then you want to put your Earthbind totem on the priest who's hiding behind this box there. Then you're immediately in combat. This is really, really important for 2s, any, you know, 3s, anything, so that your healer can get combat and they cannot open. And then you just start chasing the priest, and you start chasing the healer, and you start making sure you can get in combat. If, however, you are in an arena match with a stealth, what you can do is you can just do the same thing, fleshcraft, and then just wait for the rogue to sap your healer and then press thunderstorm, because they're going to come straight onto you and you get them out. That gives you at least a few seconds to either press wall or something before they come. Another alternative is to get Earth Ellie out as soon as they get sapped, and then press your Earth Ellie wall as well. So you could also get Earth Ellie wall out and fleshcraft. There's lots of different things that you can do, options that you have for versus regular people like that, you know, stealthers and stuff like that. It works very well, and it means that you can get in combat very easily, and just in general you're very safe, and you can wall in the stun. I think that's important. You're pre-walling, you're recognizing that, let's say if it's into Asa Rogue who's got 4 Sepsis Go, Vendetta, that's a lot of damage, and if your healer sits the sap, which they really should do, then you can at least kind of survive it with a 40% damage reduction. But, you know, with Fleshcraft, you know, Earth Shield up, you should live. You should live. Unless there's obviously a Mind Games go, in which case yeah, that might be a bit rough. So make sure that your Earth Ellie is on the priest to stop the Mind Games, so you can at least live to kind of press grounding or kick. But yeah, those are the options in that go. Otherwise, Fleshcraft in the room or Fleshcraft outside if you want a little bit more of a shield into, you know, double melee. I think that's an important thing to go for. Another thing to consider as well is that who you're flame shocking. I will tend to flame shock both DPS, just so I've got things rolling and I've got the ticks going, so that, you know, you can get your damage out, and you get Lava Surge, and that you're refreshing the cooldowns and you're getting your Fire Ellie out. I think that's really, really important to make sure you're doing it. I try not to flame shock the healer, because when you hex, and if you press Primordial Wave after that, or you've pressed Primordial Wave and you go for a hex to do damage, it will break. You will Lava Burst the healer. It's a problem. I've done it a few times, so just be mindful about that. In terms of hexing and fake casting, really learn how to fake cast. I think this is one of the biggest important skills to learn, you know, like being able to healing surge and kick. Like, most people will kick you about here. They'll most kick you like there or like here. So what you want to do is you want to try and figure out where someone kicks you. Now in this meta, it's really, really difficult. I think it's a hard meta to learn how to fake kick. But if you're running and you want to kind of get some stuff out, you'll probably get both kicks. If you kind of go for a fake around here, like the halfway point, and go like that, you move. And if they don't kick you, you kind of hold on a little bit longer and then you go like that. Alternatively, this is a thing. If you go here halfway, if you do fake casting at halfway point and they don't kick you, they're going to kick you insta the next go. So what you want to do is you go halfway, you fake, no kick, then you want to go and then fake again. Like, fake a small one, because most people tend to want to kick immediately. They're clued on. It's like, oh, he wants to cast. Okay, I'm going to kick the next one early. And then you fake early. Or if they don't fake you early on that one, you just do the cast stone away and you get kicked. Just don't fake cast more than 3 times. It's just really bad. Or if you are going to do that, use something else like a thunderstorm, or put healing stream down, something else, because a stun is going to come. before the kick will come. Like, let's say you're queued into Ret Warrior, that's going to happen. So that's a really important one. Another key trick as well is learning how to ground traps. Now, obviously, Survivor Hunter is big in the meta. It's very difficult to ground a Survivor Hunter trap, but if you're going up against a BM Hunter, make sure you are talking to your healer. Make sure you're on voice with them, and as soon as they're stunned, within 3 seconds, you can press grounding totem. You can pre-grounding the totem. He has to kill it before he gets out there and does the trap, or hold on to it. A stun might come if you're queuing the jungle. A feral might come up and stun you before that happens, but at least then you're delaying it so that the stun will end. They might try and cross CC to do that, and at that point it's hard to do anything, but at least you can try and ground it, and you can cause a disruption to it, especially in twos. It can be done easily. So as long as you're aware of your positioning and where your healer is, you can probably get a grounding down. So when they stun, press grounding, or wait a little bit and press grounding. They're going to go for that trap anyway, especially if they think you're preoccupied. So something to consider. I think those are a few options to go for. Another good thing to do is load up your entire barrel ready to go. So what I'm talking about is you've got flame shock on the target, you know, you're doing everything here. What you want to do is get your Stormkeeper out, you want to get basically your Primordial Wave going, cast Lava Burst into basically Stormkeeper go, another Lava Burst comes out, and then another Stormkeeper go. You want to try and use and make sure that you're using your kind of like lava, your Stormkeeper with more of your kind of like your Master of Elements. So when that pops up, and then make sure that you're kind of using Master of Elements on Echoing Shock, Earth Shock, and stuff like that, so that you've got the damage output and everything. But as you can see, you know, Lava Burst, kind of Lava Surge coming up is really important. If you feel like you're gonna actually like kill someone, expend the other charge of Stormkeeper, but you might as well have it where it's doubled in terms of damage with Master of Elements. So I think that's a really key thing to consider. Another key trick is when you're lassoing is to make sure that you're going for a pillar. This is really important because a pillar will protect you from kicks. I'm obviously using this stupid trinket that really needs to be removed. So often that doesn't happen, but when you are outside of that option, outside of those 12-15 seconds, you can go for a pillar. And this is just general for just playing lasso, like since its inception. Make sure you get a pillar so you can't be kicked, because there's nothing worse than being kicked on lasso. Sometimes you don't have that option, sometimes you just have to press lasso, and especially if you're playing LE Mage, you want to get a sheep on one of the targets, maybe the healer, CC on the other off target and the healer. They're both CC'd, and then you can press lasso, no problem, but then combust, they die. That's how that works. So there's options there, but make sure you go for a pillar, because that's really important. A good way to avoid yourself getting kicked. So make sure you're considering your positioning and everything like that. Another key trick of mine as well, and one that I really enjoy, is that if your teammate is being focused, put yourself in a position where, you know, let's say your teammate is this Borealis worker over there. What you want to make sure you're doing is that your other healer, let's say, is the anchor next to him over there. What you want to make sure you're doing is that you're here. The enemy healer is the boxes here. You know, you want to make sure that you're in range to CC him. They're double melees on top of him. You're doing damage. You're able to get there. You know, cap totem out into a hex, that kind of thing. You're able to do these sort of things and make sure that you're able to basically perform CC. If they go you, I will talk about obviously kiting and everything like that. But here at least, like you're able to be healed, and you're still disrupting this enemy healer here. He has to force to go around the other side. He goes around the other side. You keep here, you kind of move around, kind of change your focus, kind of come around like this. You know, you're basically able to hit the targets over there where the Borealis worker is, but you're also able to basically stop the kick. You know, kick mind games, kick heals, everything, CC, that kind of stuff. It works very, very well when you're playing like Destrolog, for example, or Mage and everything. And make sure you're using Earthbind on cooldown and everything like that. I think this is really good in terms of positioning, just to be able to be disruptive as possible. Another trick as well is talking about double melee. Now, if you get into double melee and they are going you know, depending on which comp you go, but especially if you're playing Windwalker, Ellie, or any like Thundercleave or something like that, they will definitely go you most of the time. Make sure this is a little trick to help you. So you've got a few things to do that can kind of help you out here. First of all, you want to Earthbind into a Ghost Wolf and run. This will slow them and everything like that. Don't use Earthbind and anything else. So they're saying they then use their charge on you or their gap closer. This is when you Thunderstorm, so you get them away there. Please note that it DRs with the Druid Vortex, and I think it also DRs with certain other things like other knocks, so just be mindful of that. So when you go there, but you Thunderstorm them away and you keep moving, you keep flame shocking, you come out of this, you're flame shocking, you know, everything like that. If one of them doesn't have a kick, lasso, this is where I'd probably try and fake cast to get one of the kicks out of the way. Then I lasso the target that still has the kick. So I'm kind of like, my teammate's still doing damage, but I can actually move away. No issues. Then have to use a stun to stop me here, which is perfect because that means that they've wasted their stun instead of coming on to fight me, basically, which is good. And after this, once I've used, you know, my Thunderstorm, when I've used Earthbind might be back up again. But the other option is to do, when you know that they're about to pop their go, and that, you know, they're not Kyrian one or anything like that, you can then basically, you get there, they use their gap closers, and then static field run. And that's when you want to do it. Or you want to make sure that, you know, for example, if your teammate can get slow on and everything, you press that, and that's when you run. So you want to use static field totem there. I'd only really use this if they're, you know, it's like a H Palo or R Shaman. If it's a Holy Priest, I'll tend to stick with grounding because Mind Games is really damaging. So yeah, those are the options that I would kind of go for. So a few tips and tricks there, just to kind of keep moving and make sure you're not kiting out of the way behind pillars, you know, where your healer can move. But in open, kite in the open, do what you can. Just use your Thunderstorm, your slows, your Frost Shocks, and your lasso when you know that their people can't interrupt them, or when they've used gap closes, because otherwise you're kind of in a bit of a pickle when they can just gap close back to you. So yeah, do that, and I think hopefully you'll get some help from your teammate as well. But yeah, guys, that's it. That's my guide. There's some tips and tricks. I hope that's helpful. Let me know if there's anything that I missed that you want to ask me about, but I think that should have you set up ready to go for when you want to play in Shadowlands, and you should be able to push. Obviously, the season is quite deflated at the minute. Nobody's enjoying it, and that's a big problem. So as things progress, as the season inflates, you will also go up. Like, don't worry about it. Just keep pushing through. Try and get what you can. I think if you get 1800, you get 2k, you get plus, you know, if you get close to 2-1, that's amazing. You will definitely go up, and you'll have a chance of getting Gladiator for sure in 3s. Just got to keep working it. Play with some very strong comps. You know, play with a Holy Priest. They're really good, and I think you should be fine. Obviously, guys, I've been Jake. This has been my guide, and I obviously happy to answer any questions. Please let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know how you get on. Let me know what rating you get. Let me know what videos you want to see. Let me know what content you want to see. And otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.